Television highlights of the news of yesteryear. Fate and the fleet of France. Newly elected President Poincare of France watches French flag being hoisted over ship he boards in waters off Toulon. It's 1913, and with whispers of war in Europe growing gradually into more loudly spoken words, head of French government reviews his nation's fleet, soon to be locked in ocean warfare against U-boats and merchant ships of the Kaiser's armadas. Here's battleship of the gigantic Jean Bart class, 23,500 tons of fighting fortress. With Monsieur Baudin, nation's Minister of Navy, President Poincare gets satisfying look at French answer to threat of U-boats, submarines of France. And here's fast French destroyer, fully prepared to guard Atlantic sea lanes in interests of Triple Entente. Captain of flagship joins Monsieur Poincare and Baudin, as from battleships to barges, French fleet of 1913 proves its readiness for anything future might bring. And what it brings is war in 1914, 4 long, full years of conflict. But after the armistice, peace. Then another war, this time with Germans now called Nazis. Here at Toulon in 1942, the fleet of France is again on review. Scuttled, blast-scarred, just so much twisted scrap. Capital ships which once flew tricolor are now half buried in the mud and water in the harbor of Toulon. In danger of certain capture by Nazi legions which have overrun the land, French sailors sink their ships, leaving only ruins to invading Germans. Taken in 1944, when the Nazis had been repulsed by invaders from America, these films show fabulous French fleet as it was handed to Hitler. Thus destroyed, they turned defeat into a tragic sort of victory.
Dr. Marston and Emotions. It's 18th of July, 1930. And Dr. William Marston demonstrates complicated device whereby he claims he can determine and compute comparative emotions of blondes, brunettes, and redheads. Says Marston,
this is the sphygmomanometer, an instrument which measures the subject's blood pressure in the arm. This is the kymograph drum, which records the breathing. The breathing is taken with the pneumograph around the subject's chest. We are now going to test the girl's reactions to gambling.
Taking in inventive doctor's tests, our blonde, brunette, and redhead try their hand and luck and show their emotions at roulette. The wheel of fortune spins, and all wrapped up in Dr. Marston's paraphernalia, girls have their various reactions recorded. Here's kymograph with indicator showing one girl's reaction to game of chance. Needle is moved by subject's breathing. Here we see how redhead reacts to gambling. And as she wins, Marston's emotion finder indicates that redheads show most emotion when gambling. Now girls are taking reaction tests in matters pertaining to love. Watching love scene, all girls show some signs of emotional response to a romantic scene, but not all show a similar reaction. Kymograph shows it's the brunette who wants to be loved. Now here's test to show which of 3 is most susceptible to shock or fright. Taking a look at the kymograph, as we go through that again, Dr. Marston and science show blondes are easiest to scare.
Gypsy Queen's last journey. In nation's capital, it's 1923. And gypsies from over all America are in Washington to attend last rites and funeral of Empress Elenora, their beloved queen. Bereaved King John heads procession of 2,000 American gypsies as wandering followers of Empress Elenora see their queen safely on her last earthbound journey. And prayers send the beloved queen to gypsy heaven.
are Lord and Lady Montbatten, October 2nd, 1922, as they arrive in New York Harbor aboard White Star liner Majestic. Just 22 years old on this visit to America, popular Englishman says he and Lady Montbatten are on second half of honeymoon and will have a wonderful time.
Arriving from European jaunt on steamship America, here's famed American sportswoman Eleanora Sears of Boston. It's 1920, and Miss Sears is here being admired by British publisher Lord Northcliffe, as well she might be. For Eleanora was world's best woman athlete in teens and 20s, champion of women's rights.
Here in 1922 is already aging Carter Glass of Virginia. Congressman from 1902 until 1918, Glass was Secretary of Treasury under Wilson, and here at 62 begins 26 years as Senator.
It's 2nd of December, 1920, and here are ruins of Strathmore, 9-story apartment building at corner of New York's Broadway and West 52nd Street. While being remodeled, building collapsed, injuring scores of workers and passersby and killing estimated 6 persons. Rest of structure is so shaken it must be torn down before the dead can be removed.
Fair showing. With Chicago's famed Stevens Hotel in background and shining waters of Lake Michigan not far away, 600 artists show their genius in park bordering Michigan Boulevard. With Chicago's big World's Fair not many blocks distant, artists sold Century of Progress all their own. With hope that sales will average $1,000 daily, some modest would-be Rembrandts trade paintings for food or clothing. It's 2nd of July, 1933. And with Chicago's fair drawing millions from all parts of the world, thousands come to outdoor art display to have a look, and hundreds of people buy. Oils, watercolors, portraits, still life, interiors, and landscapes are here. It's art of America, done, displayed, and sold by artists of America, 600 strong. In dark days of depression, there's colorful display of talent along Michigan Boulevard in the first year of Chicago's famous fair.
Tribute to Teddy. It's 25th of October, 1922, and here's first sheet of new 5-cent stamp bearing portrait of President Theodore Roosevelt. First stamp will be presented to widow of late president coming Friday, when issue goes on sale at Oyster Bay, Long Island, Teddy's home. And check for 2 sheets has been received from Roosevelt Memorial Society. Army-Navy game, 1919 version. It's 27th of September, 1919, and just 11 months after end of hostilities in France, men of victorious United States Army and Navy have peacetime battle. With famed Lieutenant Lansdowne left, Army and Navy brass look over Army crews who sail balloons out of St. Louis Air Base against balloonists in Navy uniforms. Preparations over, they're all ready to fly. Army competitor gets into basket under balloon. Destination, distance. This Navy man's all ready to be lifted into the wild blue yonder. And then ground crews give signal balloons are ready to fly. Looks as if this balloon is going to sail right out of the atmosphere. But wait. This basket isn't as anxious to get out of this world. One after another, balloons hit the sky in Army and Navy maneuvers in year between the wars.
Here's the height of fashions in high old times of 1929. Hair is worn in tight curls and close to the head. Shingled in back, this hairdo sports short bangs in front, and notice spit curl here. Here's all-over wave that's tight and all-over curls again. The Parisienne is popular for a combination exotic and boyish look. This off-the-face fashion calls for lacquering and lots of jewelry around the head. And for the younger, or those who want to look younger, the co-ed was considered very cute.
Miles and Marathon. It's April 20th, 1926, and here's famed Boston Marathon in early stages, with all 88 starters still in the race. But as time and the yards go by, many of the early pacemakers drop out, and into lead in Boston streets goes John Miles, crossing line a winner. 18 years old, Miles wins first marathon he enters. Second, behind young Miles, is Alvin Stenros of Finland, who won grueling race year before. Making time at Maniola. It's 1935, and it's fair time at Maniola, Long Island. And what's a fair without harness racing? Trotters and pacers have been biggest thrill at Maniola Fair since 1842. In heyday of Hamiltonian, Dan Patch, Billy Direct, and Rosalind, greatest pacers and trotters of the game, Maniola Fair was Mecca for Manhattanites who had to see harness racing at least once a year. For 108 years, best trotters and pacers on America's tracks highballed high wheelers at the Maniola Fair. Then came 1942, the track closed and never opened.